am. Okay. As women's roles in society have changed, so too have the role of a politician's wife. We've always been interested in the partners of our leaders, although this interest has increased in the age of celebrity. Why is it that we expect more of our leaders' wives than ever before? And is it justified? No, it's not. I've answered the question. We don't have to do the segment now. To tell us more, please welcome University of Melbourne's social researcher, Dr. Lauren Rosewarne.
Hello.
Do I call you Dr. Lauren? Can I call you that?
I'd rather you just Lauren would be.
Dr. Lauren, why are we now so obsessed more than ever with who our leaders are going home to and having dinner with?
Because we're obsessed as a culture with celebrities. So I think we now expect our politicians to be more than policymakers, more than legislators. We expect them to also be entertainers. So by virtue of that, there's an intense media speculation on their lives, their family. By virtue of all of that, we're interested in their wives.
How has, Lauren, the role of the wife changed from Jackie O through to Rosewarne, for example?
So Jackie O, there was no expectation at that time in history that a wife would have any other role but being a wife. So she was a wife. In Jackie O's case, she was a fashion plate as well. People were very interested in her style-wise, but there was no expectation she had any other role. Whereas flash forward now, and I think Michelle Obama is a good reflection of how women's lives and roles have changed in society. We expect her to have had a career, but also to have a bigger role in policy, and Michelle Obama has been very involved with childhood obesity. She's released a cookbook in the last couple of days.
It's interesting though, because you had someone like Nancy Reagan who was really passionate about literacy.
Yep.
And you have had Jeanette Howard was also quite influential behind the scenes. But how has someone like Therese Rain completely changed that yet again?
And I think it's different in Australia because we don't directly elect our leaders here. I think the media has less of an interest in politicians' partners in Australia, so I think that's potentially a good thing to think about that. But Therese Rain, I think there were some complicated things about her relationship. She had a career that was much more successful than her husband's, but also a role that's somewhat controversial in Australian policy. So she had to give up some of her work because of the perception of conflict of interest. So she almost had to do that.
To pull back.
Yeah. Whereas now we look back, she's able to get back involved in all of this now because her husband's no longer Prime Minister.
Is there still that expectation, though, that they must give up everything that they're pursuing if their husband is elected to a position of power?
I think in the United States there's certainly that role because the First Lady gets a staff, she gets her own team, and there's an expectation she can't have a career as well. It's actually just not physically possible given the security and the other requirements that she has to do as part of her job. So I think, yes, we accept it, but we also want to see her doing something worthy of her intellect.
Can we talk about the role of the wife in a time of crisis? So I think in Australia, our example of that was recently the Leadership Challenge, where K-Rudd had Therese on his arm from the moment he stepped on the plane. It was such a strategy compared to Julia having Tim there.
And I think there's a normalising role of partners in that sense that I think it's going to be a very long time away before we get a single swinging bachelor in high office. We expect them to have a wife, and this wife provides...
Why wouldn't we like that?
Or bachelorette.
Or bachelorette, but I'm thinking in that sense of that film... the president, isn't it the president, the US? Anyway, I'm having a mental...
Yeah, there's been a few films
where
they're
single in office.
Yeah, sure.
But this is
Annette Bening. She comes down the stairwell.
Yes, this is the one, the American president.
Yeah, that's it.
But this isn't a real life thing because voters seem to distrust single people, which we've seen with women. There's an expectation that a partner is a normalising figure, and that partner also, the choice of partner says something about the leader as well.
If he can get a hot piece, then there's something good about him.
And a hot but intelligent as well.
That's what I meant.
And not as opposed to some really young, perceived as vacuous woman or man or toy boy, having someone who's worthy of...
Stable.
Particularly if it's a male leader, for voters, female voters are going to be more cynical if it's someone who's perceived as, you know, dopey or...
Then how can Obama ever lose? Because Michelle Obama is basically
And this is what they say, is that she is his secret weapon, that even though all of these popularity, he's had some dips in the polls, etc., there's been controversies around, for her, she's ridden that out.
See, I love them equally. I would marry either of them.
Okay.
I would marry them both at the same time.
That would be amazing.
I will compete against you.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, ladies.
That's great.
Okay, that's great.
I think what we do is the girls are right though. What you do is you look at Michelle, and she's so fabulous, so confident, so happy and and her sense of self is so good that you think to yourself, well, she's not a fool, so if she's going to be married to him,
Absolutely.
he must be okay.
And she's got that charm down, which is something that is considered a problem if a leader can't do that themselves. At least their partner can do. You know, Carla Bruni was much more charismatic than her husband, and that helps sort of carve up the audience in terms of, okay, well, we'll dip into a different bit of audience.
And at the same time, Cheryl Blair, when she opened the front door the night after Tony Blair won the election, gave her a lot of sympathy to the general public because she looked, well, quite tired and hungover.
And spotlighted
basically.
the gutter press as well in the UK as well, which, again, a fortunate thing that we don't have in Australia to that extent.
But really quickly, so is that Julia's one of her issues, is that she doesn't tend to sort of promote him and he's just in the background?
It's a new role, so that idea of a first husband or whatever that means, we don't know what to do with it. She doesn't know what to do with it. She has issues of not wanting to come across as needing a partner, needing a man to validate her, but at the same time she needs a partner to look normal.
Ooh, very interesting stuff.
Fascinating indeed. Well, everyone, can we please thank Dr. Lauren?
Thank you.
Very adventurous ladies with a luck for travel and adventure. That and plenty more to come. This Thursday, you are watching The Circle. We'll see you after.